Yo, what's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? We're here again for Black August, Black Revolutionary Education to get you free. Free your mind and your family will follow.
I say.
I don't know. Our camera's doing a weird thing. Can y'all see the both of us?
Sorry,
Don't worry about it. I'm gonna switch it over.
Okay.
I just want to do the introduction. Hey, last week y'all killed it. We've been keeping the momentum going. I don't know if y'all been following on IBFA page, but this past weekend was on the commemoration of Mike Brown's killing, Stank Shakespeare killing. And so we just been grinding. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to y'all.
All right.
Okay.
There we go. There we go. We got to get our. There we go. You know, we got to get our.
Okay, we're in. All right. Peace, and power, family. Welcome to another IBFA Mad Liberation Education Study session, particularly on Black August this month. You know, we're highlighting Black August, but of course, other things have gone on with us historically in the month of August. So we'll also talk a little bit about those things in the beginning, and then we'll jump into our study session.
Yeah, awesome. Yep. Just to do a quick check-in, our week has been going well. Our fast has been going well. We've been trying our hardest to stick to the principles of Black August, and I think we've been doing a good job. So again, today's session is going to be centered around Black August. This is part 2. Today, we're specifically talking about the Soldedad Brothers, the movement to free them, and that includes the Marion County Courthouse Rebellion. So those are the things that we're going to highlight today. Of course, we're going to go talk about some other things throughout historically, that happened in the month of August. And we have a special guest that we're trying to get on also, Mama Sukari. So again, it's all about Black August. It's all about our commitment to the struggle. It's all about learning about the brothers who gave their lives for the struggle, for this prison struggle. So bear with us today. Again, we're here, and we hope you guys enjoy the session. Make sure you type in questions, whatever platform you're watching this on. Make sure you type in questions. If we need to be corrected, we are not above correction. So, you know, this is a study group. This is a collective study group, a collective study effort. So you guys are all a part of that. So let's get it down.
Also, let's see. Well, I'm going to let y'all two check in, and then I also just want to do a little light meditation before we get started so we can, all be in tune before we get going on this study session tonight.
I say.
Want to go first?
I'll go first. It is what it is. Tori Russell, director. I almost said Tori Russell's. It's an inside joke. The kids call me Tori Russell's. Here, so.
He famous, y'all. He famous. He was on TV, y'all. On real TV.
That's how I hate it. Can't take that.
Now we're sure they can't.
That's so silly.
I know, that's how we are. Director of Black Organizer.
Yeah, that's your director of Black Organizer right there.
I'm a low-key comedian. I play one on TV. Let Travis tell it. But I feel a little lighter. I don't feel overwhelmed. Every year, August 1st, which is actually, the beginning of Black August, but probably something that's more immediate that I know about is that's actually the day that Mike Brown Jr. actually graduated from high school. Right. So that's his graduation day, and so it's just very it's heavy, and the week go heavy because Mike Brown Sr., who in the hood we call him MB, he get to sharing stories about son, smile, jokes, what they did, wedding. There was a couple weeks before, all of that. Going into the weekend, I was really nervous, but weekend was a success, and now we're about to pull off and go do some more training. So we had a chapter meeting in St. Louis tonight. We're gonna go down south. Last night, yeah. Still a little tired, but we building, and that's the most beautiful thing that's possible for Black people, is building something we made an elder get emotional. Damn near cry. He was so happy. He said, "Man, I ain't, this spot called Sabayet. It's like an Afro-centered space.
It's Africa here in St. Louis, y'all.
Yeah, that's what he said. It's Africa here in St. Louis, and they put their money together, and he built it brick by brick. So he put it back together brick by brick, and he was saying, man, I ain't had no young people talking about what y'all talking about here in a long time. So whenever y'all want to meet, and I'm gonna put the word out to some other people, I'm gonna come pull up. So yeah, it just gave me a new rejuvenation. So I feel good. I'm gonna pass it to Travis. I'm gonna go. So I know
sharing.
Travis like to crack a joke about TV and I'm famous or whatever, but I am going in the back to go make T-shirts for all the members.
Working.
T-shirts.
And that's my thing in the co-op. And you can hit us up for a T-shirt, for IBFA T-shirt, for a Ferguson Tommy T-shirt, for I Wish a Karen Wood T-shirt, whatever you need, we got it on deck. So love y'all, family. Peace. Over to this big head.
Yeah, yo, what's up? That's funny. He got his head bigger than mine, but nah, bro. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Yo, being here, because as y'all can tell, we're in the same same room, right? Because usually we on different screens.
Yeah.
So being here, y'all, being in St. Louis has been dope, yo. Like, it's been crazy, wow, right? Because like St. Louis ain't no joke, yo. Like they really brought that life out here. Right. So yeah, just like one story real quick. When you driving, I understand why Ferguson has so many tickets and stuff, because on one of the roads you come down that leads directly into Ferguson, you get off the highway and the speed limit sign is directly behind some trees. So unless you literally like look for it while you're driving, which means you have to be looking to the side of the road, you wouldn't know the speed limit. So just imagine driving down a road not knowing the speed limit. What you think gonna happen?
Yeah. A trap, speed trap.
You probably get speed. So like when because we watched this. I didn't even know this, right? Because being here, you get to see it. They did a private screening of this documentary that's coming out called Ferguson Riot. That joint was fire, but in it they showed how when they did a study, there were 21,000 citizens in Ferguson and 30,000 warrants. So like 20-some thousand citizens and 30-some thousand warrants. And you get a warrant for everything. So you get a warrant for like petty traffic stops or whatever. But think about that. How in the world you have more warrants
than people?
You're actual citizens.
Right. That's crazy.
And that's how, because the way this roads is set up, it's set up basically for you to break the law. 93% of one race was the ones getting tickets and the warrants. Who do you think that was?
We already know.
We already know. So being here and actually experiencing that, Joe, was like, wow, I see why. Like now it makes sense. So on one hand, like that part is crazy. But on the other hand, y'all, like being here with my brother, being here with Tori and Mama Julia and the people in the organization, that joint been fresh, y'all.
That's good.
Like the crazy thing is, like, even though St. Louis, wow, there's so much love here, y'all. Like the black, like y'all see, I got some fresh cornrows. Like somebody give them joints for me for free.
Okay.
And somebody, I got a whole shape up. It's not as fresh as it was when I first got here last Friday. Barber gave me a whole shape up for free. I'm in the barbershop chilling with everybody. Like they like, y'all, we got somebody from out of town. I'm talking to everybody in the barbershop like they all know me. So it's been love out here, y'all. So that's been real good. And it just showed me like how important black community and black love is.
Yeah.
Like, I wish we can get away from all the argument that we have online and get back to like real life in person, black love and black unity.
Right.
We getting there.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's one thing that was kind of lost during this whole pandemic, was just that the togetherness that us black folks need. You know, we can get together on screen, but it ain't nothing like hugging. It ain't nothing like joking in the same space. It ain't nothing like that.
It ain't nothing like it, yo.
Yeah. And that's one thing that's needed in our movement is that love. And that's why we talk so much about it. It's just that black love. Whereas anywhere I go and as black folks, I should be received well.
Yeah.
Right.
To be safe. It should be a safe space somewhere for black folks among black folks, you know. So I definitely appreciate you sharing that with us. Black love is important, man, for our mental health, especially.
Ashe.
Pieces. So again this week, you know, we're just gonna go down our timeline.
Before we do that, we're gonna meditate.
Yes. And give me a moment of silence.
So again, like I said, I want to do this meditation so we can ground ourselves, so we can be focused. Like I said, study, train, fast, and that's what we focusing on right now. But we do want to pay homage to all of those fallen soldiers, all of those political prisoners who are still there now, and all of the political exiles also that are still, like I said, can't come home because of the oppressor, you know. So let's just ground ourselves for a second. Wherever you are, just try to get your feet flat on the ground, firm on the ground, sitting up straight, you know, good posture, so we can get this good energy flowing. And I'm going to ask that you close your eyes. This is going to be a little short meditation, but effective. And I also am, you know, acquiring the help of my singing bowl here. And I offer this singing bowl, these vibrations, in the memory and honor of the ancestors and all of those, like I said, that came before us. May these sound vibrations, which are healing vibrations, let's make that perfectly clear. These are healing vibrations, that they reach the ancestral realm and bounce back to us and to those that we call our loved ones. So I'm going to ring this bowl 3 times first. I love the number 3. The number 3 is very magical. And I will ring it 7 times for the 7 chakras. So again, I'm going to ask that you close your eyes as we go into this sound vibrational meditation. Ashe. Thank you. Thank you. Asante.
So again, this week we're going to get into the Soldedad Brothers, the movement to free them, including the Marion County Courthouse Rebellion. But we're just going to first start off with, you know, just we want to stick to the revolutionary spirit of Black August. We want to make sure that we're on point. We want to make sure that we're giving accurate information. So again, we're here trying to hold that revolutionary line. But we do want to honor and recognize a few things that happened in the month of August during this week that we thought was revolutionary enough to say on this platform. And we also want to just highlight the FLEA days, the FLEA day of this week also, which we are honoring W.L. Nolan, a comrade that was assassinated in Owing Soledad Prison. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get there. So we're going to start off with Sunday, August 8th, 1978. The Move organization was attacked in Philadelphia. And I believe one officer was killed in a melee, and they charged 9 individuals for that one officer's death. those individuals became known as the Move Nine. They were political. Everything about this was political. They became political prisoners. And I believe all or most of them served over 40 years in prison for this incident. So we just want to honor them and honor that movement with the Move organization. I hope I say this right, but what's that? Napanak prison rebellion in '79, which happened in New York. Again, these brothers rebelled because of the conditions that they were living in during that time. So they were just trying to get some change within the prison system. That's in the Napak prison rebellion of '79. And of course, we got Dr. Matulu's birthday that happened. Dr. Matulu Shakur's birthday that happened this week on the 8th also. So we just want to take the time to say his name.
And briefly, today, August 12th, we want to, I'm sorry, I did jump the gun. So let's back up. August 9th, Mike Brown is murdered in Ferguson, Missouri. If you were on when the show first came on, the session first came on, you heard our brother Tori speaking on, and our Brotherhood scholars speaking on their boots on the ground. Have they been on ground zero this week? Definitely pertaining to the Mike Brown uprising. So we definitely want to lift that brother up and his family. You know, they have to, this is a hard week for them. So we definitely want to send our healing energies that way.
And his murder led to rebellion, led to uprising in Ferguson and other spaces. And in my heart, I believe that rebellion still is a struggle today. I don't think it ended. People may have went home, but you got people that have never stopped having justice for Mike Brown and family on their mind, and all the other atrocities and all the other things that have happened in Ferguson. Right, it's a whole bunch of things, but we just honor the spirit of Mike Brown that led to the Ferguson rebellion. Right, and if Tori get back on, he could tell you more about that rebellion. So August 10th, 1970, you had the New York Tombs prison rebellion. Again, all these prison rebellions were mostly due to unjust and inhumane facilities, and brothers were rebelling against it, overcrowdedness in the prisons, right? So when you look, and I challenge everybody to go, fact check and everything, but when you go look up these rebellions, you'll see that these brothers was just asking to be treated as human. George Jackson talked about how a small amount of armed officers can keep control of such a large amount of armed prisoners at times, right? So they do that through brutality. They do that through sheer brutality. They do that through some of the same manipulations that COINTELPRO use, right? They pit two sides against each other, whether they're pitting black and white against each other, where they're pitting two prison gangs against each other, Mexican against black. They use these tactics to keep disruption within the prison system. And when brothers and sisters, and brothers, we're speaking about the brothers right now, but when brothers and Chicanos and the whites got a class understanding, some of these rebellions, a lot of them included a class consciousness versus a race consciousness. But in almost all of the instances, when the media reported it, if the media did report it, they reported it as like a race riot or a racial thing, but it was really a class thing. On August 11th?
Yes, August 11th, 1965, we have the Watts Uprising. Lasted for 6 days. Like I said, it became militarized where the National Guard had to be deployed. Just craziness and mayhem. But like I said, an uprising nonetheless because of the conditions that the people were forced to live under. And we have to think about the time, the 60s. It was no different. Jim Crow going on in the South, and you had these, like I said, these officers, same officers that were brought to the North from the South just for their, because of their brutality against us blacks and the Latinos and any minority. So we have, like I said, that uprising happened August 11th, 1965. Today, oh, you want to say anything to that?
Ahead.
Okay.
No, well, just to add to that, you just had Malcolm X was murdered, assassinated that year. You had so many political uprisings during that time. Watts was just what they call it, a brewing pot, or it was just a situation, a powder keg ready to explode at any moment, and it did. Cooker. Right, it was a pressure cooker and it exploded. And again, when you ask people why they were rebelling, they weren't saying stuff like just to get, just the redistribution of wealth, which I totally 100% agree with. They were saying, man, we're tired of these conditions. We're tired of the police beating on us. We're tired of all of our young brothers and sisters being unemployed, right? And right across the tracks, you see otherwise. We're tired of being discriminated against at these businesses, right? So it wasn't even just about again, it's they politicize it as a black and white thing, but it's hardly ever a black and white thing, right? It might be a black against the authority thing, but it's never a black and white thing. And as we can see through a lot of these rebellions, it wasn't just new Africans that participated in them. Even in '65, the rebellions that happened across the nation. Even in '92, the rebellion that happened, it wasn't just Africans that participated; it was the masses of the working class people. So when we're talking about revolution, we're talking about a revolution with the working class people. It's not just a us thing. We're trying to totally destroy the system with every means that we have.
By any means necessary. I say thank you for adding that. Okay, August 12th, which leads us to today. August 12th, 2015, Hugo Yogi Pinnell is murdered in Folsom Prison in California. After being released from solitary confinement after 45 years, that comes on the heels of the uprising that happened August 21st, 1971, when Comrade George Jackson was murdered. He was accused of Hugo was accused of a whole bunch of things. So he, like I said, was released to general population after 45 years in solitary confinement. As me and my husband were talking, he probably didn't even want to be released to general population. I mean, he was probably kind of content with being out of the fray of everything after all of those years. But he was murdered just 2 weeks or less after he was released into general population. So today we definitely want to honor him because he was one of the comrades and just into the study groups, everything with Comrade George and W.L. Nolan. And one of the things that stuck with me is the way he talked about Nolan from Soldedad, the one he met in Soldedad that was kind of like, the young rambunctious one, kind of always getting into some stuff, to the one he met when he went to San Quentin that was handing him literature and telling him about revolutionary theory and all of these things like that. So that is very profound, something that's profound to me. And also, I believe, like I said, he was one of the spearheaders of the 2012 agreement to end hostilities, which was an agreement for the races, to end the racial hostility, and specifically in the California state prisons and the county prisons. And that definitely was an issue, of course, for the authorities because they make a lot of money off of that. It's a profitable business for them. But again, like I said, we definitely want to honor one of our fallen soldiers, Hugo Yogi Pinnell, who was murdered on this day in 2015. Definitely want to give him a Black August salute. Definitely, for sure.
And just to add to that, this was a political assassination. Hugo Pinnell had no smoke with the working class people. Again, this treaty that he signed and that he was a part of implementing and spreading, he was still putting work in while he was in solitary confinement. This treaty to end racial hostilities, it wasn't just a black thing, right? It wasn't a gang treaty. It was a treaty saying that we want to end this racial hostility so we could get to really organizing in this prison system, getting our rights and getting what we're supposed to have. So again, he didn't have no smoke with the white boys on the yard. The the pigs sent those white boys, right, and allowed. They could have sent Hugo Pinell to any of the yards that he would have been accepted as a father, right. A lot of different yards would have accepted Hugo Pinell and protected him, right. But they chose to send him and release him, and probably not even tell nobody that they was releasing him, and allow for 2 white inmates to assassinate him. So that was a hit. It was a political assassination. And again, today we honor Hugo Pinell. He get a Black August Black Power salute on August 13th, 1970. Comrade W.L. Nolan.
Go ahead.
Comrade. No, go ahead. What? Comrade W.L. Nolan was assassinated.
Okay. So let's back up. He's honored on the 13th, but he was assassinated on January.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, yes. Today's a FLEA day. I was saying today's FLEA day, which is the 13th, is in honor of W.L. Nolan, who was assassinated January 13th, 1970. And we'll get back to that after we talk about the last, what is this? The 14th. So the 14th, let me see, I'm open my screen. Okay. So the 14th, the boys came in ceremony commenced in Haiti, right? This is the ceremony that our ancestors called upon the spirits, our gods, to guide us in this fight for freedom in Haiti, this fight for liberation in Haiti. And this ceremony happened in the month of August. And it was just such a spiritual event. You know, the Haitian Revolution should be one of the cornerstones of our revolutionary education, right? This is actually a country who freed themselves and created a democracy and a monarchy at the same time. But they were able to use our spirituality to get it cracking. And, you know, one of the pivotal things about that we might not talk about the boys came in ceremony is that there were so many different tribes and so many different types of Africans represented in there, you know. So again, that just shows that we can come together, man, for a common cause and defeat our enemies, no matter how great they are. And we honor the boys came in ceremony today. And last but not least, they call it the Illinois Race Riot. Again, they call it a race riot when white folks come into your area and start killing folks and you defend yourselves. So this day in August, also, we take the time to honor those who fought back, right? Honor those who fought, honor those who were going to defend their community and defend themselves by any means necessary. So those are some of the things that happened this week in August. Again, we honor the FLEA day today, tomorrow. Well,
today we did it for our family personally, you know, honor Hugo Pinell with that. So, but tomorrow is a FLEA day, 24-hour fast for W.L. Nolan. Yes.
Yeah. So we're going to get into a little bit about...
Let's get into the meat, y'all. Let's get into the meat.
So we're going to talk a little bit about W.L. Nolan and the other comrades that, you know, led up to this commemoration that we're talking about right now. We're going to talk a little bit about the Soldedad Brothers, and we're going to go over the Marin County Courthouse Rebellion and learn a little bit about the younger brother of George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson.
And hopefully our very, very special guest, Mama Sukari, will be able to get in. She's having some technical issues, but Tori is helping her with that. We appreciate you, brother. So until then, let's get started.
All right. So in the 60s, inmates in the 50s, the prison struggle was almost non-existent. You know, society had accepted, you know, when prisoners go to jail, they out of sight, out of mind. And of course, we know that our brothers and sisters have always rebelled. Our new Africans have always rebelled amongst when we're under oppression. So we know that there were definitely rebellions in the prison systems. But in the 60s, something else happened, man. So in the 60s, these brothers was really getting politicized, right? They were really getting political to where they wanted to make some changes, and they knew how to make some of those changes. During the 60s, you had things like the Black Power slogan come into popularity, right? You had the
who was coined by Baba Mukasa
who was coined by Baba Mukasa. You had you had the Black Panthers who were formed in the 60s, right? You had what's some other political thing? You had Vietnam going on, so there was a level of politicization amongst the masses because of Vietnam. So there were a lot of things that were like radicalizing brothers, and specifically in prison, you know, brothers started becoming more revolutionary conscious, and which led to George Jackson and comrades forming the BGF, right? The Black Guerrilla Fam. And the purpose of the Black Guerrilla Fam, again, was to educate, to turn the criminal mentality into a revolutionary mentality, to get these brothers to know who the real enemy was, because the enemy wasn't your brother, other. You know, exactly. it wasn't each other. So Comrade George and comrades implemented these study groups during the 60s and start politicized. You know, Comrade Big Jake was one of them, and
Willie Christmas and W.L. Nolan. That's who really, you know, George pays homage to him, giving him his start in political liberation education, this revolutionary education.
Right.
We have to understand that these brothers are reading Mao and Lenin and Frantz Fanon, and things that some of us in this movement have never read, but we, you know, so we really have to step back and look at our fallen soldiers, our ancestors, and study what they've studied to really get into their mind and to understand them better. I think that's the key, is to digging into their, like I said, into their intellect, into the things that they read, the people they admired, the people they learned from, and we can expound on that. But we have to know that baseline. That is definitely the foundation.
Right. So again, and these comrades were known in the prison system for what they were doing. It still was like an underground type of thing. You know, the brothers that had their study groups, and it wasn't, you know, it wasn't, of course it wasn't sanctioned, but these brothers had their study groups, getting their literature. A lot of Black Panthers who were arrested during the 60s ended up in Soledad and San Quentin in some of these spaces, and they were already getting political education on the street from Huey Newton, Bobby Seale, and the Black Panthers. So when they went in behind the walls and they were able to continue their political education, they did so, right? And which made them targets of the force of the pigs, period. So again, Comrade George Jackson and other comrades talk about the whole goal of the prison system was to break you, right? And if the prison system didn't break you, right, or they didn't see the system breaking you, you became a target of their aggression. Right. So just a show of Black manhood, a show of Black pride would make you a target of police aggression in prison. And that's what these brothers was doing. So they were a target from the inception of these study groups and the inception of creating a revolutionary mentality.
Right. Yes, that's very, very important. Something for all of us to think about.
Okay. So on January 13th in 1970, W.L. Nolan, Alvin Miller, and Cleveland Edwards were shot and killed by guards after a fight broke out in Soledad's O-Wing exercise yard. Both Nolan and Miller were known for their militant opposition to prison authorities. All right. So when we're talking about W.L. Nolan, again, this is a political assassination. Inmates were locked down, and they were finally able to be able to come out to the yard. And how this yard worked, it was in most prisons, especially if you're in a hole or you're in a shoe, they let you out one at a time. And they strip search each inmate right before they're out on the yard, and they'll let a one Black inmate, one white inmate, one Black inmate, so on and so forth. And I say that to say that W.L. Nolan did not have a weapon, right? But he was known for these weapons. He was known for his hands, you know. So again, they were let out on the yard. A fight broke out between Nolan and some white inmates. When the fight broke out, the prison guard shot Nolan, right? That's when Alvin and Edwards ran over there to assist Nolan. They just seen their brother get shot. They ran over there to assist them. When they ran over there to assist them, they were also shot. Shot down, like George Jackson said, by these pigs with a military rifle from less than 30 feet away. These brothers were shot down. And the only thing Alvin and Cleveland Edwards were doing were there to try to assist their brother from dying and bleeding out. It was an assassination. It was a political assassination. From there, just to take some time to talk about Soledad's O-Wing, the talk about where they were at. This was some of the worst conditions. This was deemed one of the worst prisons in California at the time. From the brutality of the pigs and from the conditions of the prison itself. It talked about how people come out of Soledad O-Wing broken men.
The psychiatric effects of it.
So this was. Go ahead.
Oh no! When you finish, I'm going to read that.
I was just going to say this was just a part of that trying to send a message to the masses that you ought not stand up for yourself, that you ought not educate yourself, that you ought not show any show of manhood behind these walls.
Or control of your own life in any shape, form, or fashion.
Period. And I say it was a political assassination because Nolan had filed several lawsuits protesting the racist and violent treatment meted out to him and other prisoners in the months prior before this. So the prison guards knew that Nolan had, they have unions, so they're financially invested in prisons outside of their job. So they knew that, with lawsuits, that's money coming out of their institution's pocket. So again, it was a political attack against his brother to silence him permanently and to silence other people that would come behind him and try to fight for prisoner rights.
Yes, Ashe.
But back to the conditions of O-Wing, I think she has a quote.
Yes, like I said, we're talking about the conditions of O-Wing in Soledad. So this is an excerpt from Soldedad Brother by George Jackson that was written, letters from Soledad prison while he was there. And this is a letter he wrote to his lawyer, Faye Stender, about the conditions of, like we said, O-Wing. It says, it destroys the logical processes of the mind. A man's thoughts become completely disorganized. The noise, madness streaming from every throat, frustrated sounds from the bars, metallic sounds from the walls, the steel trays, the iron beds bolted to the wall, the hollow sounds from the cast iron sink or toilet.
Right.
Wait. The smells, the human waste thrown at us, unwashed bodies, the rotten food. When a white con leaves here, he's ruined for life. No black leaves Max Row, the maximum security section that they were in, walking. No man leaves Max Row walking. Either he leaves on the meat wagon, or he leaves crawling, licking at the pig's feet.
Right. So I just want to add some context to that because I have been behind those walls. So during this time, they get their food. They wasn't going to the mess halls or the chow halls or to the cafeteria. They get their food through slots given to them by the COs. And they had allegations, which was probably named in the lawsuit, that these COs were pissing in their coffee, right? Putting feces in their food. Grounding glass, you grind glass up and they put it in their food. So when you eat it tear up your insides and you bleeding from the inside. These guards were allowing other inmates that were favorable with them to throw feces in the cell of other inmates, right? So also these guards had like bedding pools, right? They would let a certain amount of black inmates out, Hispanic inmates out, and white inmates out, and they would bed on them. They would bet and see who the last man standing. They would stage these fights. They would stage these things. So these are just a few of the things. Not even given the fact that other cons or other inmates that were on that row may be going through some mental conditions. So they're up yelling all night. They up banging on the walls all night. So it's
the
a whole
guards play on that,
and the guards, you know, they put those people in those roles for that. So again, it was these conditions, man, were made to break you, you know.
It's
and
a mental institution.
And I just want to commend the comrades for staying strong and being able to find some
solace,
some you know.
I don't even know if we can call it peace.
You know, some type of something to keep them going behind the walls, which was revolution, right? They found something to keep them going that didn't allow them just to be succumb to the gang culture, the criminal mentality, or to become another statistic who commits suicide or just becomes a broken man. Yeah. None of these people that we talk about during the month of Black August were broken men at all. Up until the last day, they were strong Black warriors.
And they were fighting for us.
And fighting for our liberation. So again, right after the assassination of Nolan, Alvin Miller, and Edwards, prisoners, again, they had a conscious mind behind those walls. Prisoners, and just to back up one more time, that specific prison guard, Opie Miller, he already had smoke with Blacks and Mexicans behind the walls, right? He already was just brutalizing a Hispanic maybe some days before that, and they rebelled within that part of the prison because of him. So he already had, you know, he was a marksman. They put a marksman shooter right there.
He was a white racist from the South.
So again, they knew who was in that tower that day. They knew that he wasn't going to hesitate to kill,
and they knew who they were letting out on the yard that day.
And they knew who they was letting out on. It was a planned assassination. Period. So after the assassination, inmates went on hunger strike. They set fires. I'm pretty sure they flooded some tears and did some other things, but they were not silent about this murder, this assassination of Nolan. And the two other comrades. So again, they burned prison furniture. They went on hunger strike and they dispatched a whole bunch of mail to their lawyers and family. Right? They sent a whole bunch of mail out in high volume, so they would have to process all that mail. On January 14th, an investigation was opened up. So due to them striking, due to them causing some funk, it was just sweeping under the rug as an incident, so on and so forth. So again, the investigations was opened up. That was a big thing. And so a grand jury convened, and within 2 days, they ruled the homicide justifiable. They ruled it a justified homicide.
All three of them.
And Opie Miller, all three of them. Again, the two other comrades, according to FLEA, the two other comrades were running over there to help W.L. Nolan. They weren't even involved. It didn't even say they were involved in a fight. It probably happened so fast that they weren't even able to get. I know they would have gotten involved with it, but they weren't even able to get involved with the fight before their comrade was gunned down. And they went over there to try to administer, stop the bleeding, something, and they were also mowed down. So the grand jury convened. The county grand jury convened that it was a justifiable homicide. Within 30 minutes of the prison warden announcing that there would be no charges filed against Opie, right? Another prison guard that wasn't Opie was found dead, right? He was found beaten and thrown off the tier with a note attached to him. And that note had a note pinned to him it said 1 down, 2 to go, right? So whoever committed this had the philosophy of the eye for an eye. You know, you took 3 of ours this day, so we're gonna take 3 of ours. They were politically conscious, and they were tired and fed up of the brutality that was meted out to them. That was one-sided, right? So again, after the body was found, they charged,
which was in the Y wing,
George
Jackson cell block at that time.
Yeah, George Jackson wasn't in O wing at that time. He was in Y wing, and they end up charging. They charged George Jackson, Fleeta Drumgo, and John Cliché with the murder of
Officer
Pig Mills, who was beaten and thrown off the tier. Right. So, and they eventually became known as the Soldedad Brothers.
Yes.
So I just want to take some time there to, you want to add anything to that part before we go on to the Soldedad Brother part.
I think you hit on everything as far as who they were. I mean, how it got started. So thank you for that.
So not only was this officer beaten and thrown off the tier, but there were multiple incidents that were in retaliation of Nolan being murdered.
Yes. So it wasn't just one incident. Of course, they can't put that out to us because it is going to let us know that I don't hate to say it. This is how you get things done. It has to be immediate reaction as far as the fight that they were in. It's like we can't wait 3 months right now. It's too much going on. We just seen our brothers murdered. They just had this case and said they were justified in murdering our brothers, and then we just can't go back to the regular way of life. We cannot.
Sure.
So I salute those brothers as far as that goes, that movement.
So again, there were multiple, I think it was what was the other they call it? Was it the San Queen 7?
Soldedad 7.
So the Soldedad, a prison guard got assaulted. I believe it was in July after that, and some other brothers became the Soldedad 7, and they had to go through a trial. They weren't as popular as the Soldedad Brothers, but indeed it was some revolutionary action being taken by brothers behind the walls.
And just that movement, how big it became. I don't even know if it was the first of that type of movement, but it became massive because you had support on the outside as well as the inside. People were, the letters that they were getting on the outside about the conditions of the prison and the things that were going on, the family they believed them. They believed them wholeheartedly, and they got these movements going all across the United States, especially in California. It was like a massive thing. Yeah. It was a massive movement for the Soldedad Brothers.
So that movement was initiated. What happened was they were sending, again, the CDCR, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitations. They are not done by far, and they are some of the most brutal pigs in the nation. What they were doing was they were trying to send these brothers back and forth to court real quick to get them convicted, because having that life sentence on them, having that indeterminate life sentence on them, would automatically put them on death row, right? So if George Jackson was convicted of killing a police officer in prison, he already had life. It's automatic death row, right? So what happened was they were going to court, the kangaroo court. They was sitting in the court, and I believe one of the brothers was able to send a message out to his mother. His mother was able to get some other people involved. And that's where you had the birth of the Free the Soldedad Brothers movement, and they were able to get some counsel. They were able to stop this kangaroo court stuff that was finna go on. Out of that came this whole movement. Originally, the movement was led by George Jackson's friend and attorney,
Faye Stender, who was a Berkeley lawyer at that time. Yes.
So they were able to get some politicians involved. Angela Davis ended up getting involved. The younger brother, Jonathan Jackson, was involved in this movement to free the Soldedad Brothers. They were able to politicize this movement. They was able to politicize what happened with the Soldedad Brothers, and they were able to get some well-needed attention on the conditions that the brothers faced in prison. So this movement, like Z said, this outside movement was important to the inside movement. I believe without these brothers and sisters, these people, all the supporters who came and attended the rallies, I don't think that we would have been able to get justice for the Soldedad brother. I think they would have been railroaded, and they would have never been able to see any type of justice. And I think that the conditions in prison would have still continued to deteriorate the way they were during that time. So it's so important to have these outside movements, including now. And we do have a lot of different movements that are trying to educate our brothers inside of prison, and so many movements that are in solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are behind those walls. And one of the movements I want to shout out is just George Jackson University. Brother
Abdul Olugbashakur,
was one of our
founding. I don't even want to call him a founding father because that sounds so European. So we're gonna say one of our babas,
one of our elders who initiated that, and got brothers signed up for the George Jackson University. Of course, it was met with opposition, continues to be met with opposition. of trying to revolutionary educate our brothers and sisters behind the walls. But I just want to give a Black August salute to the George Jackson University and the work that they're doing.
And the Black August Organizing Committee.
And of course, the Black August Organizing Committee. We want to stay true to the Black August Memorial. We want to stay true to what we're doing and what we're talking about today. So again, this movement, this Free the Soldedad Brothers movement was born. Within this movement, we had an event that happened. So younger brother of George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, took it upon himself to make some action to try to free the Soldedad Brothers through revolutionary means. And we're going to have Z. And again, just a little background on Jonathan Jackson. He was what?
6.
He was 6 when his brother went to prison.
Yes.
And he was politicized through letters, right? He was politicized, probably his brother being the main influence, and probably the Panthers, so on and so forth. But his brother politicized him, gave him some of that revolutionary political education, some military strategy from behind the walls. And from behind the walls. And he took revolutionary action. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the Marion County Courthouse Rebellion. And this was also a part of the movement to free the Soldedad Brothers.
So let's get to the juicy part. So again, like Brother Bomani said, Jonathan P. And I'm gonna say Jonathan P. Jackson, because if you look up Jonathan Jackson, some little European boy pops up. So Jonathan Peter Jackson was the younger brother of George Jackson. Like we said, his brother was locked up when he was 6. So that's the relationship he had with his brother George, is from behind the walls. But even with that, he was probably the best big brother that there was, whether your brother lives with you or not. I'm gonna just give George that, seriously. Jonathan was very politically conscious at a young age. Like I said, he left this world at 17 because he knew what was up. Like, he was definitely before his time. George praises him for that. Mostly it's him being like, we talk about this stuff, we read this stuff, we say we gonna do this stuff. My brother did that stuff. You feel me? So we just definitely want to salute him. But on August 7th, 1970, Jonathan P. Jackson leads the Marin County Courthouse Rebellion to free the Soldedad Brothers. This day, James McLean had a trial. Jonathan Jackson kind of chilled in the crowd for a second before he, got up, told him he was taking over, and he produced a pistol out of his raincoat, as well as an M1 carbine. He tossed the pistol to James McLean, who was on trial at that time. James McLean puts the pistol to the head of the presiding judge, which is Judge Harold Haley at that time. Also, look, I wrote my notes, so I want to get, because this is like good stuff to me, so I can get off course. So I want to stay on course. Also, there were 3 other prisoners there who were in a holding cell, but also Rochelle McGee was supposed to be a witness for the case of McLean, who was there as well. He freed the other 3 prisoners who were inside of the holding cell. At this time, the pistol that was put to the head of the judge is replaced with the sawed-off shotgun, and it's duct taped to his neck at this point. So they take the judge, and they take the DA, and they take 3 female jurors. All of them make it out to the awaiting van that's outside. Jonathan gets behind the wheel. They're driving towards the 110 freeway. Ironically, San Quentin guards were not too far from the scene practicing shooting. So they kind of get an alert before the van makes it there. When the van makes it there, all hell breaks loose. They start firing at the van, even though there was, at that time, I believe it still is, there's a no hostage. No hostage rule. We're not
negotiating for hostage rule.
Exactly. So at this point, like I said, the melee breaks out. The guards start shooting. at the van, which killed Jonathan, the other prisoners who were in the van with him as well. They killed the judge. I believe one of the jurors was paralyzed, if not the DA was paralyzed. And of course, the rest of the casualties. The one sole survivor is Russell McGee. He is still a political prisoner behind bars today. Yes, you heard me right. He is still a political prisoner today. I'm actually going to put that information where you could write him. Still, they need to know that we have not forgotten their names. They need to know that we appreciate their service in our war. Definitely want to give a Black August salute to Russell McGee. One thing that kind of, with the Marin County rebellion and what happened afterwards, is that, you know, Angela Davis was more so of the celeb at that time, and I kind of think that that's why maybe Russell McGee kind of didn't get the notoriety or the support that he needed, even though he was, like I said, he was there. He was he's the sole survivor of that. So we definitely need to be campaigning, going hard for him to be freed.
Right.
Did you want to add anything to that? Yeah. Okay.
So I just want to add some of the political implications and some of the things I just want to throw out there that with the Marion County Courthouse rebellion, like Brother George Jackson said, man, a lot of us ain't gonna answer the call when it's time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when we got that opportunity, a lot of us not gonna seize the moment, but a lot of us will. You know, he talks about how 5 brothers was offered arms and only 3 of them took them to be able to free themselves, right? Jonathan Jackson, this wasn't, you know, if you look at some of the stories, they try to make it like he just did this or he was just manipulated by other people.
Yes.
Man, this brother made a conscious decision to make a revolutionary move, and he did so.
To get his
You know,
brother
he
out.
had to get his brother and the Soldedad Brothers out, and
Yes.
probably to continue to free other political prisoners. You know,
Yes.
they had, I believe they had plans on getting to Cuba. They had plans on going to taking over the radio
Yes.
station, getting a revolutionary, you know, and this was, and I know on Jonathan's mind as he was doing this, he knew that people would come behind him and continue his mission of advancing this revolution, advancing this armed struggle, specifically advancing this armed struggle. Comrade George Jackson talks about it. You know, when Comrade George Jackson gave his life in this struggle, he also had in mind that we would come behind and pick up the mantle and continue the struggle.
Yes, and we, I think even with that, I see a comment right there that says we don't trust Angela Davis.
No, so again,
but with that, yes, I want to kind of
let me get to that part so you get back. So again, with after the Marion County Courthouse rebellion, after the pigs fired upon this van indiscriminately, inhumanely, with no consequence whatsoever, these pigs were able to do this, right? And they talk about our brutality. You know, they had a judge. A judge is one of the highest positions in this land, and they had a judge in the back of that car, and they still chose to fire on that van
because they hate us more than they
respect. So again, they show no respect for their own laws, right?
Exactly.
And these were prison guards. So after the Marion County Courthouse rebellion, the surviving person, Russell McGee, was charged with, I believe, murder, kidnap, so on and so forth, a slew of other charges. Angela Davis days later was also charged with like conspiracy and murder and a couple other heinous charges, which boosted her to which caused the president or whoever to put her on the FBI's most wanted list, right? And they broadcasted her and they put her face all over the nation, and they really made her famous for this act. You know, her guns registered in her name were used in this rebellion. Again, they end up catching her, and the trial commences. During the trial, again, Angela Davis was pivotal in bringing attention to the release of the Soldedad Brothers, which gave herself some more popularity from what she already had. And during this trial, you know, her charges were downgraded, I believe, and they ended up splitting. She still had the Soldedad Brothers movement behind her during this trial. right? Another thing that the pigs did was split the trial into two different trials, which didn't allow for, you know, Russell McGee to get the same media attention that she was getting, right? Didn't allow, and people the movement that was created around freeing the Soldedad brothers didn't step up to the mantle to also talk about free Russell McGee.
Exactly.
And he ended up defending himself. His middle name that he or the name that he accepted while he was in prison was Clinche. Cinque. And Cinque is was the one of the people on the Amistad who argued, you know, on the Amistad they argued in court that they had the right to rebel because they shouldn't have been enslaved or kidnapped in the first place. So how can they be charged, you know, with murder or whatever if they have the right to rebel? Right. So he also argued the same thing. He's like, look, man, I ain't even supposed to be here. I'm a political prisoner. I have the right, the obligation, you know, to rebel, to try to free myself. That's my human right to try to free myself. So, and
that's the revolutionary education, because when Jonathan gave him that chance, he took it. It wasn't like I'm a sit. No, somebody is offering me a chance for my freedom, and they want it for me just as much as I do.
And he probably didn't know that day that was going to happen. He didn't go up and he went in there trying to support, you know, he was a jailhouse lawyer. So he went in there trying to support one of his comrades.
And he's got plenty of people their freedom as well, since he's been behind bars. Plenty of people have been freed under his consultation.
So again, we just wanted to give another Black August, you know, salute to Russell McGee, man. Free him. Everybody, if you see that campaign come across your timeline, make sure you click on it, sign it. Let's free this comrade who's been behind bars way too long.
Yeah, let's look for that information. Like I said, we're not just going to salute him. We're going to support him. So we definitely, now that we know better, now that you all are aware of who he is and where he is right now, I hope to see an influx of support.
So again, that was the Marion County Courthouse rebellion. Yes. And again, just that very revolutionary salute for Jonathan Jackson.
Being 17, let me go back to Jonathan just for a second. So just like you said, a salute to, like I said, 17-year-old man-child, as George Jackson called his younger brother. Just that focus, that militancy, to hear his mother talk about, like she said, Jonathan, it wasn't nothing I could tell him about his brother when he was ready to get his brother out. There was nothing I could tell him, you know. Imagine being a younger brother out here, yearning for that, your older brother to be there, to take you to these baseball games and to do these things with you. But even still, like I said, George Jackson was still a big influential brother to him. I think that he was able to close his eyes, even though he was murdered as well, George Jackson, that he was able to close his eyes knowing that him and his brother did the damn thing, and they did everything they could for the revolution till their dying day. So Ashe to the brothers, the Jackson brothers.
Ashe.
Definitely.
So again, just to kind of recap what we talked about today, we talked about W.L. Nolan and his political assassination, which led to some uprising and rebellion amongst the prisoners, the prisoners was able to show solidarity in this case, and some blood was shed. Right. We had the Soldedad Brothers, who were all charged with the death of an officer. Yeah. Right. And they were trying to frame them up, and they were trying to hurry up and do a speedy trial, get them brothers convicted so they can end up on death row. We had the movement of the Free the Soldedad Brothers arise, which Angela Davis was a part of, Brother Jonathan Jackson, the Black Panthers, so on and so forth. We had the Marin County Courthouse rebellion, which was led by George Jackson's younger brother, Jonathan Jackson. He took a revolutionary step, and he tried by any means necessary and all means necessary to free the Soldedad Brothers, who were at the time political prisoners. So, and we have next week, and we talked about Russell McGee and the movement to free him, and just how he was a survivor of that, and he's here today.
And Mama Sukari is going to be on next week.
We're going to have Mama Sukari on next week. Also next.
Oh, I just want to add one more thing about the Soldedad Brothers and also the San Quentin Six. Is that FLEA? I mean, he was.
So that's what knows. So next week we are going to talk about the. We're going to talk about the San Quentin Six, and we're going to talk about the wrap up of the trial for the Soldedad Brothers, right? So they were acquitted of those charges. But another special shout out to.
Oh yes, to FLEA Drum Go. I mean, oh my goodness! Like I said, the revolutionary spirit of these brothers. Peace, Mama. But the revolutionary spirit of these brothers, because he was a Soldedad brother and one of the San Quentin Six, and it's just like, where does it end? Seen so many things happen. So just a revolutionary spirit to him. But I'm gonna be quiet because our very, very, very special guest, Elder Mama Sukari, is in the building. Peace, Mama.
It was a struggle. I had to remember some things. Thanks, Brother Tony, and everybody else that assisted.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tori. Appreciate you, brother.
So do you want to add anything? I know we was wrapping up. Do you want to add anything, some context? How do we do today? If you were able to, tune in,
I heard a lot, on and off while we were trying to help me to understand this mechanism. But let's see. Jonathan and I were about the same age as that. And I can tell you the way we felt, and I'm sure you all might have at that age as well, you have strong convictions about right and wrong. And you see what's happening to everyone around you or in your community that's missing. Can you all hear me? Are you there?
Yes, we can hear you, Mama. We just muted our mic so we can just listen to you.
I was just missing you guys. Okay.
You got the floor right now.
Yes,
we listening to you, Mama.
Okay. He was really I got to see him. I'm not sure with the dates and the times, but he was attending one of the fundraisers for there was the Soldedad Brothers were still going to trial, and by then they had moved comrade Field Marshal George to Jackson to San Quentin to the lockdown unit, the SU they call it, SHU, the Security Housing Unit. But he was attending, and we were setting up the program that evening, and I kept trying to feed him. And did he want something to drink? Did he want something to eat? And he was kind of focused and just observing, and I don't know. I just thought he was, just in his head a lot, and I wanted to just, make him comfortable, but not invade his privacy. But he was focused, and we couldn't move him from whatever he was processing. And so he spent time, I think at least 30 or 40 minutes, and then he left with one of the brothers. And then later on, we got the news, but he was a focused young man. And you can tell by, if you ever had an opportunity to watch any documents when he spoke, he was real clear and concise. If you ever got a chance to read any of the books when Comrade George spoke about his brother, you'd understand. Basically, he was just focused, and he had his mind set on what could be done, what should be done. He went the way of many other ancestors. He had his convictions. He understood what he was facing, and he moved on in a way that was bigger than so many people twice his age. I mean, you would try to think of folks involved in military having to carry out an act with something they care about less than their family or their blood. So he had military precision.
Right.
Yes.
And one of the things that go ahead, Mama.
No, just ask me, get me off of this because I'm stuck there.
No, I was just gonna say one of the things that helped that is his correspondence with his brother in prison. It just helped him politicize and helped him know why and what he was doing. So I just wanted to add to that.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, no, George was an educator. He educated everyone that was around him and that had a chance to spend time with him. And then he had so many people around him, outside, inside, brothers that had got a chance to get out. And George was field marshal of the Black Panther Party, which means a whole lot, which means not only was he a teacher and a demonstrator, but he was a leader. And that's all he ever was. Angela Davis was a contact for him, which allowed him to get more exposure to the communities, to the world press and everything. They used that platform. She was a part of the Communist Party, USA, but they did a lot of work in and out of our community at the time. So he utilized that, and they developed their friendship. But she had her purpose in it. However, George, there were a lot of organizations that worked with him. Basically, the party for sure. My job wasn't that at that time. I think afterwards they sent me to deal with Rochelle because he was the only one surviving. But George, and I don't want to skip ahead and get to the Soledad case. The San Quentin case. So George was just for years fighting, and he always commanded everyone no further than he would go. And my husband picked up from him. And what my husband picked up from him mostly was educating people about, who you really are. Yeah, we're not here, to be these folks that have been raised to follow something that has been just surfacely imposed on us. We have to go deeper than that. We have to remember who we are and whom we are. They don't forget. They know. And so from our very beginning here, there has been struggle. There's always been, there's the story of Sin Q, before he even experienced the pressures of being beat or debased to the point where he fears. And that's the main thing they use. But you got to let that fear drive you past the block that they set. You have to remember that it's going to be rough no matter which way you choose. So you might as well choose to use your mind. And that's what George taught. That's what my husband taught. They taught, and we studied dialectical materialism. We studied, oh my goodness.
Mama Sukari.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question, just because many of our viewers may not know your background? So could you just catch up some of our viewers, just tell us who you are, your background, you're referring to your husband, who your husband is?
Okay, first of all, I joined the party when I was about 14. And we started training political education, pretty much what we do this month. We did every day. We had to study, and then we promoted our information, which was a Panther paper. And then I worked my way up through the party. And in the party, the first thing they did was they sent me to visit Rochelle. Before I'd known about George, and I got to meet Jonathan and a lot of other brothers in the party that ended up in San Quentin. So as a youth, I went through that and so much more of the Panther story. But to get us from there, the party sent me to visit Rochelle. And of course, my dialectical struggle with that was that you're sending me to visit people that committed crimes against the people. And they told me, girl, go up there and make sure that that brother's not railroaded. At that time, they were holding trials inside San Quentin prison. So worked through Rochelle, and then years later, I started going to visit. I had been, let's see, I guess not that long, about 3 years. And I went to visit, I heard Geronimo was in San Quentin. So I went to visit Geronimo Pratt. We call him, Geronimo Gijaga Pratt. And he was a part of the Black Panther Party. And he was in prison, and Afeni Shakur, who most of you all knows as Tupac's mom, she was working on his case, and I wanted to get in and say hi to him and do some work on the case if I needed to. And when we went in to see him, he told me he wanted me to visit this brother who was in San Quentin who needed a legal assistant. He needed a legal assistant. And so I said, sure, I'd do it, because he said he had plenty of visitors, and the brother needed visitors, especially a legal assistant. So I signed in and did the paperwork to visit Khatari. And we had our first visit, and we went through each other's particulars and family, background and perspectives. And he asked me to go visit his attorney, Sally S. Soledad. And so I started visiting him and relaying all the information back to the attorney. But he talked so in depth, it was like too much to remember. He talked like a dictionary. So I went back and I asked for a recorder, and, because then you could take recorders in. At one point, they said that in Jonathan's case, he got a gun that some lawyer smuggled into him, but that was before. And I guess they started letting us bring recorders in again. So I would record everything Khatari said, and I would take it to the attorney for his case. So that put me on the scene at the same time as Geronimo Pratt's case. And Geronimo was being charged for killing a woman on the tennis court in Los Angeles. And at the time he had came up, and that's when I first met him. And we took him to a program that had many other brothers from around the United States meeting, because the only way you could start a chapter in the Black Panther Party is you had to come to central headquarters, and you had to participate in programs so that you knew how to run that exactly word for word, step by step, no deviance. There were requirements. There were people setting up parties all over the place, and they weren't following practice or principles. So that was one of the things that they did. So Geronimo was a part of that, and so many other outstanding brothers. But that's where I met Geronimo. And then Geronimo was accused of shooting somebody at the very time that he was away. I ended up being one of the witnesses, but I wasn't around. So I didn't know how that case had gone until Geronimo finally went to prison. So Geronimo's case was going on. The San Quentin 6 was getting ready to start, and Khatari had a case. And then there was another case, this brother named Billingsley, who had been murdered by the police with a chokehold where they broke his windpipe. So that had placed me at least, I joined the party in 66. And that brought me back to San Quentin around 73. And that's when all of that was going on. George had died. I was still in the Bay Area then. And when his brother had died, I was still in the party when his brother was murdered. So we supported the family. We supported the Soldedad Brothers. We supported all the cases. We worked with Leonard Peltier. We worked with anyone that was standing up for the rights of injustices that had been imposed on just not only our culture, but any people, of indigenous beginnings. So yeah, and then
Shay.
I'm listening for questions. So
No, I'm just saying that. Yeah, no, like I'm sure Bomani and Zada are feeling the same. We just like, wow, this is amazing.
No, they don't know this story.
Yeah, this is amazing.
We ain't heard it yet.
We like, wait a minute. Okay.
So again, a part of our African
I mean, we talking.
no, a part of our African sinniness is being able to sit at the feet of our elders and learning.
Yes.
So Mama Sukari, we definitely appreciate you coming and giving us these stories and you know,
first-hand
again,
accounts are everything.
Yeah, you are.
So we have, just so y'all know, Baba Dottie. Do you know Baba Dottie Kennedy, Mama Sukari?
I don't think so.
Okay, we might have to get him on next week, but he is currently he was in the Black Panther Party too. He's actually watching it. Huh?
What state?
You know what? I should ask Baba Dottie. Could you place in the comments what state you were in for the Black Panther Party?
She put a check on, not just
because he was watching earlier, so I don't know if he's still watching, but he was on. He's been commenting. Yeah. Let me see. I'm gonna share one of his comments just so you can see.
Okay, I work at Central Headquarters. Which was?
Oh man, so that's his picture right there.
Okay, down.
That's his name. I know it's kind of small, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I'm gonna try to connect you two. Okay. But before we let you go, I do have a question for you. And I'm gonna put you back on the spotlight. What is freedom? What is Black freedom? What does it mean to be free?
Freedom is anytime you determine what you're going to do based on pertinent information. Freedom is the ability for you to use your decision.
Okay. How moving forward, what would you recommend Black people to do to get free?
Man, study and always stand up for your rights. Never feel that, I mean, you don't want to do anything to further jeopardize yourself, but you always want to stand firm on your rights. You have rights, inalienable rights. You have rights beyond this country. Now, what we have to understand is that what they call slavery needs to be referred to as war. That was war committed against our being delivered here. And we have to understand that as people of war, then we're entitled to rights afterwards. Everyone else after war has been handled differently, but we have to assert ourselves as a nation. That's our main freedom. We have to recognize that we're a nation. We're second-class citizens here. We know here, but we're not accepted here. Anything, if you think back, every struggle you've ever had here, just doing basic things, basic rights, you don't get those. You have freedom to decide what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, but it needs to be based on principles.
That's a word.
Yeah, right.
Man, that's it.
That's our mama right there, y'all.
That's our elder. There she go. That's what we've been telling y'all about. There she go. We've been telling y'all about it. There she go. I told you she was real. I told you. No, we appreciate you, and definitely those words are encouraging coming from you, and just important. Like you said, man, we have to continue. We got to fight. Ain't no way in hell that they committed this act of war on us, and we sitting here continue. This war is not over, mama. That's why we ain't got no reparations. That's why they ain't treating us like they treat other people after the war, because it ain't over. They still got this whole war. They still got this genocide against us. We still at war, but we don't know. You know, a lot of us don't know. So it's our job to let people know that we are at war. And again, once we finish this war, then we can talk about these reparations. Then we can talk about, you know, the spoils of war and how we ought to be treated, not only domestically but internationally.
Yeah, like Baba Chocolate said, he argued it best that we don't even need to be in these courts. We need to be in the military court.
The military court. And the reason we should be in no damn civil court, no state court. Exactly. We should be in the military court, because any aggression against our folks is an act of war. You know, so we should be in these international courts. We should be in these military courts instead of these domestic courts.
if you pay attention to the 13th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, you'll realize that all of that is against us, not for us.
Yes. Keep us in bondage.
And the nation that Mama Sukari is referring to is as of now, it's the provisional government, Republic of New Africa. That's the nation she's referring to. That's our flag, man. That's our nation. That's what we organize around.
Mainly
be able to get our freedom. We have to have these vehicles in place to be able to even say that we are a nation, to be able to say that we are a peoples with common future, past, and present, right? So, and to be able to fight on the international scale instead of just staying here on the domestic scale. So we are a nation, and we are fighting for it. And
all three of us are conscious citizens.
We're conscious citizens of the Republic of New Africa, and we ask that all you that are looking at this to either take some time to look up this government, and possibly become conscious citizens.
And let's get free.
Let's get free. Let's heal. Let's get free.
Can we give Mama Sukari the last word?
Yes, please, Mama Sukari, bring us out. Give me the last word. We appreciate you and everybody that got on this session. We're going to give you the last word, and we're going to end this session.
Yes. All right. Well, as Queen Mother Moore said, who was a Garveyite and a Republic of New African citizen, she said, I didn't know I had to wait for you all to be born for the revolution to come. Ashe.
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 Some pills in here this evening.
Thank you, everybody.